Don't you just love it when you set an alarm for 3 a.m. so you can watch the new episode of the Clone Wars and then your alarms don't go off and you wake up at 7 a.m.? What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video. And in today's video, we are continuing our reviews for the Clone Wars. We are now on Season 7, Episode 6, Deal No Deal. So as usual, I will be reviewing this as if you've already been watching this season, as if you already watched this episode. There will be spoilers in here, so that is your warning. So after last week's episode of the Clone Wars, where we finally got Ahsoka introduced or reintroduced in this season for the first time, I was loving that episode. It was probably the episode that gave me the most feels at times, just because it was just so nice to see Ahsoka again after everything that's happened. And of course, we've seen her in Rebels, but we hadn't seen that in-between period after the events of her leaving the Jedi Order in the original set of seasons that came out before this was canceled, and then obviously what she does in Rebels and in the Ahsoka novel. So I was really excited to see her again and be part of some sort of story, and now we're going to be part of this 4-episode arc. This is the second episode into that arc, and yeah, so after the last episode, she meets these two sisters, the Martez sisters. You have Rafa, who essentially wants to be like a smuggler. She wants to be some badass chick. She's really arrogant. She thinks that she knows what she's talking about. Her and her other sister, Trace, are both aspiring to get off of Coruscant. They want to do these jobs so they can get out of there. Trace being the nicer of the two sisters. She has these dreams of being a pilot. She's been working on this ship that she titles the Silver Angel. And you have these two sisters with different aspirations and goals that are both arrogant in their own ways. They're very stuck to their ways, and you know, I really appreciate the characters so far. I'm enjoying what these characters are bringing to the story, and mainly because I really enjoy the conflict between these two sisters and Ahsoka. Like I mentioned, Rafa's arrogant. She wants to like kind of work with the crime syndicate. She wants to be a smuggler. She thinks she knows what she's talking about. And a trope that I always think is really funny, that it happens in anything where you have a character that's really badass. In this case, it's Ahsoka. It's really funny to see a character like Ahsoka who you know is badass. You know she knows what she's talking about. You know that she knows how to get in and out of situations, but she doesn't want anybody to know that she was part of the Jedi Order at one point. So she obviously has to stay kind of in hiding as far as what she says and kind of revealing who she is. So then you have a character like Rafa who thinks she's big shit, and she talks to Ahsoka in this way where it's like, oh, who are you? You know, like, what do you know? And I just love it because you know that Ahsoka could kick her ass to the moon and back, and it's always so funny to me when you have a character that's really badass and knows what they're talking about, but the characters inside of it don't know that, so they kind of you know, underestimate them or maybe like act like, oh, what do you know, you know? So I've always found that to be funny, and that's essentially the character of Rafa throughout this whole episode. She ends up getting a mission for them, and initially she did not want to get Trace, her younger sister, who's this aspiring pilot, to be a part of the mission, but the original pilot bailed, and so now they have to use the Silver Angel, and Trace has to pilot it. Trace is really excited, and it turns out it's her first time going into space on a ship, so Ahsoka and Rafa are a little worried, especially when it comes to certain little mistakes that Trace is making as she's flying the ship. And yeah, I really enjoyed this episode, and the biggest thing that I enjoyed about it was probably the dynamic between the three of these girls. You have Ahsoka, who is wary, you know, she's definitely kind of trying to steer them away from danger and bad decisions. Rafa is definitely just trying to make them money, so she's willing to do whatever. She thinks she knows what she's doing, and she doesn't really understand who these crime syndicates are and how they work. And it's awesome as a Star Wars fan who watches all these things and consumes all these stories, that you're on Ahsoka's side the whole time, because Ahsoka's been a part of this. She's gone to all these places. She's built a Jedi at one point. So she knows how these crime syndicates work. She knows the danger that's here and the things that are at stake. And you have Rafa and Trace, who are just new to it all, and they're kind of cocky about it. They're just kind of like, what's the deal? We got this. They're so excited for the opportunity. Trace is over here just telling everybody that she has the fastest ship, and they're kind of treating it like two silly kids that don't really know what they're doing. And I really like the surprise of when they actually arrive to the planet where this job is going to start taking place, where they have to pick up these spices. It turns out to be Kessel, which of course is a huge part of Han Solo's story. It was in Solo, a Star Wars story. So it's really nice to see Kessel again, now this time in the Clone Wars. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch this episode. Essentially, they go to get these spices so that they can deliver them to the Pikes. We find that out later on in the episode. Once Ahsoka finds out it's for the Pikes, that's when she starts to worry a little bit more. She's like, listen, these guys are big time gangsters. Even if you guys give them what they want, there's a huge chance they could want to rob your ship, hurt you guys, or take the rest of your money, or just double cross you. In the midst of this heated battle where they all have different opinions, Trace ends up freaking out because of the idea of them stealing her ship, the Silver Angel, and she ends up releasing the cargo bay and getting rid of all the spices in the middle of hyperspace. So now they have no spices. They're on the way to the Pikes. Rafa's upset. Ahsoka's like, why did you do that? We could have used the spices for good, or at least use them to kind of trick them. And now everybody's kind of at odds. Everybody has different ideas of what they should and shouldn't do. And that's essentially the whole episode. I really enjoy the dynamic between the three of them. I think that Ahsoka being this really knowledgeable and wise character who has gone through all this, which is just so awesome, right? Like, you have this character like Ahsoka who used to be this annoying kind of just character that didn't know anything. She was just kind of in the way sometimes. And her progression and her growth throughout everything and what she's learned and how serious she's become because of those events is always just so exciting. And I think that, again, I've said it before, the character development for Ahsoka has got to be some of the best character development across all of the Star Wars characters that we've seen. She's had more screen time than a lot of legacy characters, and it's just, she's become a legacy character on her own. So the episode ends with them going to deliver the spices to the Pikes. They don't have the spices. They end up tricking them, and as they're about to escape, they're surrounded by a bunch of patrol ships from the Pikes, and then that's where the episode ends. So I'm very curious to see where it goes. Again, I really like the dynamic between Ahsoka and these two other sisters. They're very different. They all have their mentalities on what they think should and shouldn't happen. They're very arrogant, and I'm really excited for Ahsoka at this point to just drop the bomb that she was a Jedi. I'm very curious to see how that will shift their relationship and their dynamic as an overall. Maybe they'll have even less trust for Ahsoka, but maybe they'll actually trust her a little bit more. So I'm very curious to see where this goes. Did you guys like this episode? Definitely leave those comments down below. If you didn't like it or you did like it, definitely leave all those thoughts. I'm definitely curious. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this video. And if you guys want to keep up with more Star Wars content or all kinds of content here on this channel, you guys can hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.